Hey, this is Get Real with Rallim, a podcast where we have everyday conversations with kids, parents, and of course, all the amazing teachers out there. Real conversations, real people. Let's do this.
Hi and welcome to Get Real with Rallim. My name is Paul Roberts, or as the kids at school like to call me, Mr. R. Welcome to the first installment where we have invited some of our Rallim parents onto the show today. I'm very, very keen to get into this one. Today we're going to be talking about lockdown life as a working parent and now a stay-at-home teacher. Now it's been very, very challenging for many of us, but it's not all doom and gloom. There have been a number of silver linings. So without further ado, let's get into it and welcome our guests. Okay, so welcome everybody. How is everybody doing?
Fantastic.
Okay.
Good. So good. Day by day.
All right.
It's Friday.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm sensing mixed emotions. All right. So for the benefit of our audience, should we go around the virtual room, maybe introduce ourselves? Kate, I don't know if you want to kick it off.
Sure. Hello. I'm Kate Shepherd. I have a little one in grade 0 at Rallim, and I am a parent of 2. So my other child is 2. So I'm managing a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old at home at the moment. Meanwhile, trying to manage quite a disastrous, I would say my business caught the COVID-19 virus. So that's where I'm at the moment. And I'm busy trying to start another one and homeschool.
Wow. Well, there we go. Mira?
Hi, everybody. I'm Mira Ramsey. I've got Sonali in grade 4 at Rallim, and look, I'm okay. I think most days. I day by day for now, and just trying to keep my head on being positive and just make the best of a really bad situation. But we're okay. We're doing fine. Work-wise, a very, very unsettling period for me. I'm a freelance market researcher, so I work fully independently and fully at home. And right now, every single one of my contracts has tanked as far as contract work, freelance work is concerned. So much uncertainty, hell of a lot of stress, but it is what it is, you know. I'm positive. I think things will turn. It's just a question of when. But yeah, it is what it is. That's me.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mira. Tanki, take it away.
Okie dokes. Hi, everyone. I'm a mother of 3. I've got a grade 1, grade 3, and a grade 6 in Rallim. And yeah, I'm also basically taking it a day at a time with a lot of help from my husband. I feel like I really would lose my mind if he wasn't there to assist me. He's like very good, obviously, with school-related stuff, and I assist where he can't. I'm a realtor by profession, so my own business has also kind of caught the COVID virus. And yeah, but I'm also doing a network marketing business on the side, which is actually helping quite a lot at the moment, because that I'm able to do from home through Zoom calls and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm kind of surviving, if I may call it that. Thanks.
That's amazing to hear. Tim, go for it.
Thank you, Paul, for setting this up. Guys, yeah, it's been interesting. So, yeah, we've got Gracie in grade 3 and Josh in grade 1. And believe it or not, we've been homeschooling for 4 years up until this point. So for us, this isn't new. However, it must be said, like everyone else, our online business, unfortunately, is not doing well either. So for us, this is somewhat normal, juggling a business and kids, but at the same time, the financial pressure and now having to be hands-on again with homeschooling and stuff is tricky. So I think we're all in the same spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're 100% correct there, Tim. We're all in the same situation. We're all in this together. I mean, COVID-19 really, it's brought about so many challenges, which many of you have already touched on, and we'll get into that in a moment, at least into the detail of it. But you know, it's not all doom and gloom. At least that's how I feel. I think there have been many silver linings as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, just look around, you know, it feels like there's such a strong sense of community, not only locally, but worldwide. I mean, pollution is down. So Mother Earth is going through, I feel like, a healing period. General hygiene is back in fashion. I mean, that's fantastic. And it's I'm not sure how it got out of fashion, but it feels as though it does. And so that fact that it's more of a focus again, I think is incredible. And I'm only speaking on my part here, but the time that I'm getting with my family at the moment, it's as tough as it is. I know it's precious, and for many of us, we're not going to get this kind of quality time again. So it's a case of absolutely making the most of a rather tricky situation. I mean, how do you guys feel about it? Have there been any sort of silver linings for yourselves?
You're painfully positive, Paul. No,
I mean,
yeah, I think as long as we're understanding what's important to the kids, I think sometimes I struggle personally just with the balance of it. I feel like a lot of my day is spent cleaning and feeding people, and then you homeschool, and then so I feel like it's quite a lot of overwhelming feeling that kind of goes into the process. So I think as long as you're cherishing that, it's sometimes you do lose sight of the cherishing, because you feel like you've got to get through the school work, or you've got to get through, down all those YouTube links or everything that the school's sending, or, you've got to kind of crack it with the kids. But I think as long as you're remembering that it is time you'll never get back, I think you're quite right in what you're saying there.
I think it's also okay not to beat yourself up if you're not feeling like you want to just hug your kids and kiss them right now. I think that's okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, I echo Paul. Looking in this objectively, I think we're all going to look back. A lot of families have never had this time together, especially maybe dads at work and get home at like 8 at night. They don't even tuck the kids in. So yeah, it's hard, but I think we'll look back with fondness. I would like to think.
Yeah. I mean, even for us as a family, there have been so many silver linings, like you say, Paul. It's still like creeps me out, and I still get stressed when I go outside, and I see how empty things are and the roads are quiet. But when I'm back in my house, I feel the safety and sanctity and all those lovely things again. So I think the thing we're enjoying the most is the better pace of life. Mm-hmm. I just find this so much more it's forgiving in a way, you just feel like you can do a lot more. But I don't know, I just really am enjoying this, and I hope this becomes the new normal, I must say, and not just running and catching and chasing and just really seeing the wood for the trees and enjoying the
staying in your PJs all day, that kind of thing.
Enjoying little things and not having to chase your children from activity to activity, and that kind of thing, which is a breath of fresh air, I must say. And I just have one kid, so I feel the difference, and I like it.
I think Tanki, you've got 3 kids. I mean, how's it been for you?
Look, I guess it differs from day to day. There's days where I'm like, oh my gosh. And then there's just days where I'm like really enjoying watching my kids running around. And I mean, we've been doing things that we haven't done in such a long time. For instance, playing card games together. What do you call it? Heads up? Things like that, which are more fun, especially in the evening. So it's been a great bonding period, which I feel we really needed as a family. And then another thing that I've picked up is that I'm learning a lot of character traits in my kids and in my husband that I really I feel so blessed to realize that these people are actually more than just the people that I see for 3-4 hours in a day. But there's so much more to my kids and my husband that I'm learning over this period. So that has been pretty awesome for me.
That's nice. That's lovely.
That's awesome. Can I ask a question? I don't know if it's my place to ask questions. Sorry, Paul, but
no, I mean, it's an open platform. Please go ahead.
No, I'm just thinking, like, coming from a homeschool background in the UK. So we've just moved. Well, I say just moved. It's been 8 months, but knowing how our kids were, and this, as I say, is quite normal for us. Our day looked pretty much like it does now. There was a sense of kids discovering who they are with the parents together, and as Tanki pointed out, you do get to see your kids' character. We were fortunate to see that. Now, going to Rallim for us was just a breath of fresh air in terms of just, obviously, for obvious reasons, right? The school's incredible, teachers are incredible. Paul, I don't know, he's a bit questionable, but everyone else there, I'm just joking. No, Paul, you're a legend. We love you. Yeah, look, I think my point of the story is it's interesting because we've seen things from both sides. We've seen the blessing that the school has been coming back into this homeschooling environment for us. Again, I get the running around, that stuff, unfortunately, can't distract you from what's important. And reconnecting with that part of our kids, I must say, I'm enjoying it. And our kids seem to be enjoying it. I don't know. And that was the question, a very long way to get there. But how are your kids all enjoying this? Like, are they like, damn, I just want to go back to school. I can't take this. Or are they generally more content? I'm intrigued to know.
So I think Sonali's enjoying it. She's I'd say she's enjoying it most days. The thing she misses is just the friends, and like break time and the chatting. And the other day, Shame, she said something at dinner which was quite heartbreaking at the same time. And she says, I just miss the hugs, and she misses the hugs from her friends. And it was quite sad to hear because we can't do much about it right now. But it's the little things that they miss that, so the online learning is great. And I mean, I don't know if you guys feel this, but I am completely gobsmacked by what these kids know. And it's wonderful to get an insight into their, not just their learning, but the actual execution of everything. It's, I think it's phenomenal what they can do with their iPads. And this technology is just, I've learned, I feel like I'm back at school, actually, learning every day with her, So, and it's nice to get that, so you learn about the characters like we've just spoken about, but you also get to see what they're actually doing at school, which we often don't know, So I'm loving that part, I must say. It's really nice.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I mean, for me, I'm finding the whole I'm starting to see Taylor, who is my youngest, she's 4 years old. She's taken on a whole different personality than what we know. And I'm wondering if it's because Morgan being in grade 1 now, the work that we're getting through, can kind of keep us going from sort of 8 till 12 quite easily. So apart from the general work we need to do day to day, the focus has got to be on assisting Morgan to kind of get through all the various things. And so I actually think this has negatively impacted Taylor a little bit in the sense that she doesn't feel like she's getting as much attention. I mean, this is the busiest time of the year for Gretchen, right? So a lot of the time, at least up until lunchtime, it's dad is on duty in terms of kind of doing the homework and stuff. So I'm starting to feel like Taylor's getting a little bit frustrated. I don't know if your kids, you've experienced the same with your kids. And so I'm struggling to kind of figure out how to work on with that dynamic. Do you guys have any advice for that?
Well, I'm glad you said that because I was going to ask Tim for his secret sauce on homeschooling.
No, there's no secret sauce. You know what? What's awesome about, and Paul, I'll get back to your point because I'm feeling your pain there. But getting a curriculum sent to you every day or steps throughout the day is 50% of the battle won with homeschooling. Remember, before we were responsible for everything.
Yeah.
And the UK did not provide 1 ounce of help or direction. It was like you guys on your own. So it was up to us to figure out everything.
Yeah.
Coming back to your question, Paul, I mean, I'm finding that intentionality with each of our kids separately is something I've been feeling that's been missing. So as a group, we're always together, but I'm saying to Gracie, like my 9-year-old, I'm saying, come walk with me on the balcony. We'll do laps up and down. And I'm finding myself having to, firstly, I'm missing them individually, and making that time has really helped me to see them, how they're actually doing, getting that gauge of, okay, are you coping, aren't you? And that's even that little bit of like 15 minutes together once a day. It's a little bit of time, but it goes a long way. So for me, that's been helpful. I don't know if that helps in your situation.
I'm with you, Paul. I think I've actually found that both my kids seem to be quite frustrated. I don't know if that's just the time and the place that they're in. I don't know if it's just the way they learn, and I've not really seen them learning in an intense kind of way. With my eldest, the 5-year-old, she gets very, very angry at herself when she's not getting things right and when she can't guess. And, we're very gentle with her. But just seeing that dynamic, I'm like, is that just a personality trait that she's tough on herself, or is she just frustrated with everything at the moment? So managing that makes her a little reluctant to do schoolwork, I must be honest. And then the 2-year-old, he kind of just runs around like hitting things. So, he's getting a little left behind. But at the same time, we've taken this, he's learned to potty train, he's speaking more than he ever was before. So there's kind of like the small victories like that I suppose you have to take through it.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's definitely interesting. I mean, Tanki, again, I keep coming back to you and your 3 kids. I mean, your household, you either run things really, really well there, or it's complete chaos. I mean, do enlighten us. How's it going?
I think, as I mentioned before, I really don't know how, during the whole period, how I would have coped or so far if it wasn't for my husband. My husband is quite a stern person, like a disciplinarian of some sort. He will tell you if it's studying time or it's whatever, everybody sit down, this is what we're doing now. So as much as it's all fun and games throughout the day or whatever, we know that we're going to have fun with daddy and mommy later. But when it's school time, everybody's sitting at the table, everybody's got their iPads in front of them. And then we just basically go through each person. For instance, I'm more the Afrikaans and the poster person or teacher, whatever. And then he will be doing most of everything else. And then so we just alternate between the 2 of us. So he's mostly doing all the other subjects. And then whenever he gets stuck, because obviously he doesn't know Afrikaans and Xhosa, then I will just jump in and assist him, with those ones. But most of the time when it comes to schoolwork, everybody just sits at the table and does it at the same time. And then if anyone is done before anybody else, then they're given other activities to keep them occupied. So they don't go off running and playing outside or whatever to make the others feel a bit, because obviously the concentration shifts as soon as someone else has gone to play and we stuck at the table having to do schoolwork, So we just try and keep them at the table at the same time.
It's very impressive. I think your husband's
It
tired.
is.
Sounds so organized and well thought through. And
otherwise we'd go crazy. I feel like if we didn't have that, if I don't know, if I was married to a person like myself, I really don't know how I would cope. Because Calvin is so centered, and he comes from a background where it is like that. When it's schoolwork, it's schoolwork. When it's work, it's work. When it's playtime, then we go all crazy and we play. But I like that kind of order, because he brings that kind of order into my life as well, which has been helping me be very productive in life.
We're too creative, so we're a bit screwed on our side.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing to hear that dynamic is working. But I'm just speaking for myself here. Having a younger child in the household, it really does change things up a little bit. I mean, Morgan is. I've learned now that she's a perfectionist, and I say this because she can spend up to an hour because she wants to get that exercise 100% correct. That in itself has its pros and cons. But then you've got my youngest Taylor, who is then determined to ensure that for the whole period of an hour that her 2 feet sit on her sister's head. And so,
that sounds familiar.
So with a young kid in this whole dynamic, that for me is the biggest challenge, really, because, Morgan is the type of girl that can kind of just get on with it. But the dynamic with Taylor is just not allowing for it. But it is what it is. And I don't think we're alone. I think many parents out there are in that same situation.
Totally.
Our kids driving us mad. Seriously, they have moments where they get on really well, and then moments where it's just chaos. And that's another dynamic, isn't it? It's like you together all the time. Kids are going to fight. And when they fight and there's schoolwork, oh gosh, we have days where we have good days and bad days, man. And the bad days are bad. The good days are great. It's just, I don't know. I'd like to think we're not alone, but sheesh, it is a challenge.
No, you definitely.
And it's normally when you're on an important phone call or something like that, when you need 2 minutes of quiet. I'm actually waiting to see whose child comes into the room first on this podcast.
That's hilarious. Place your bets.
But I must say though, I see a difference in Sonali, and I think as much as they are frustrated and find some days more difficult than others, at the end of this, we're going to get children that are so resilient, who can work independently, who will go back to school and follow instructions on their own, so technically proficient, good time management skills, ownership of their work, so responsible. And these skills will develop over time. They would have developed over time anyway, but they're having to learn them quickly and at a young age. And I think they're going to be better for it. At least that's what I hope, you know.
Yes,
But
no, I think
I see small little changes in her already, you know, from initially needing my help here and there to almost completely working independently now. I mean, I still pull in here and there, and but I do think they're going to come out better from this.
No, I
yeah,
agree.
Definitely
100%.
going to shape them differently.
Definitely. I mean, I think that quite nicely leads on to the next segment of this in terms of talking about schools specifically. I, for one, as a parent and as an employee, I mean, I really, really do miss the Rallim environment. There's just something about it that now that we've been away from it for what feels like almost a month now, or is it a month? Wow.
Yeah,
It is for
you
us.
know,
We've been self-quarantined for a while.
yeah, exactly. And so, you know, the whole learning experience has changed. We are now doing an online learning experience. For us, it has been going quite well. I've enjoyed it. So I'd love to hear from you guys. You know, what's your experience been? You know, has it kind of met your expectations? Do you think there's things we could be doing differently? I mean, what's your view?
Gosh, lots to say. I think it's been amazing. I think the amount of work that they're providing, there's so many different activities. The teachers, I must be honest, have been unbelievable. Like the amount of contact that they're having. They must be busy all day long and all night long. They are
and
so
juggling
good
their
at being
own
in
families
contact.
at the same time. You know, they
Yes,
still have their own responsibilities. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Absolutely.
And they're so
Yeah,
creative in
really
the
impressive.
content that they send as well. Like I've seen some very cute videos, and I'm like, oh my gosh, these people are still like, you know, they make the kids feel happy. I love the fact that
Yeah.
I see maybe Amara's face. She'll see a video and they literally light up. And
Yeah.
you know, I
It's
love the fact that
wonderful.
they're really creative whilst this is what you have to get done. So I'm enjoying that.
And the videos are great. You know, it's so
Mm,
nice for them to also be still taught by their teacher. Because one thing I do struggle with is I think they are getting slightly bored of my voice. So it's nice. It's nice to have the teachers teaching and the different teachers in the year for grade 0. They're doing that anyway, and it's just nice to have that constant reminder that, you know, school is there and everyone's still there for them. They've not been abandoned, you know?
Absolutely. And I think maybe for me, it's just remembering the fact that, you know, Rallim's so switched on from a technology perspective. Like we've maybe all just taken it for granted that our kids have iPads, but the fact that they can push apps remotely onto the iPads, the kids can get on with what they need to do.
Yeah.
Teachers can see assignments in almost real time and mark things as it comes in. Like that's pretty advanced stuff. Like, you know, a lot of government schools, there's no way they'd be able to do anything. And I think we got to count our blessings. Like that's how I'm looking at it. I think it's incredible. And the schools really pulled out all the stops, especially probably the IT guys behind the scenes as well. It's been pretty impressive. I mean, I do miss high-fiving Paul in the morning if I see him at school. And a few other and the moms and dads, you know, like that's the thing. So from that perspective, I hugely miss the family of Rallim, and they have become a big part of our lives already in this short time. So but yeah, I mean,
to our kids.
Yeah,
that's it, exactly.
For sure. Tim, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to use the same word, you know, family, to describe what I miss about being at Rallim. And that is, I mean, even as a parent, I feel it. So I can imagine what my kid must be going through, you know. But the greatest thing I feel is so supported. I feel so supported through this whole thing by having that touch point with our edumentors every day. And, you know, I mean, we just have to ask a question and there's a response immediately. And I mean, I think Kate mentioned it earlier. It's really amazing how they're on top of it all the time. And I respect, and I know it's not a job I could do ever, but never. I have growing respect by the day for everything Rallim stands for and what our teachers are doing. And I don't even know how we can return the favor when we get back to school, you know. I think our parents must come up with something smart and clever and exciting and interesting for them.
I think really, I think it's a collective, really. I mean, the teachers have done an incredible job, but it's not to forget the parents. I mean, parents have really had to step up to actually make this whole online learning experience work. So I think it's twofold. Both the parents and the edumentors, they've done such an incredible job. I'm curious to see what it's like when we go back to school, because now the kids have experienced learning in a very different way to what they have before. Do you guys think that they'll just kind of get straight back into it, or do you think there might be a little bit of resistance or excitement, or what do you think their take on the whole thing is going to be?
I think there'll be an excitement personally. I feel like, first of all, I've realized another thing is the fact that kids really adjust so quickly. Like emotionally and mentally, they just like, okay, so this is what's happening now. Okay, fine, I'm feeling this way about it, but let's get on with it, type of thing. So I feel personally, I feel like they're going to be, first of all, very excited to be back with their edumentors
Yeah,
and
I
with
think
their
there's going to be a
friends.
lot of
You know,
excitement.
I don't think like the first 2 days, I don't
A lot
think
of
any work will actually
distraction.
get done. I probably
Yeah.
there'll be hugs and everything going every. Well, probably not hugs if those will be allowed. But
Not
I
the
feel there'll be
band.
so much love and everything just going back, and then I don't think there'll be a. I really don't feel it'll be difficult for them to get back into the swing of things. Because they're
Yeah,
just,
they're
as
very
it
ready.
is, they're already missing, they're looking forward to it, and with every passing day, I think what goes through their mind is, when are we going back to school?
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. And I think isn't it human nature? Like, we're designed to be with people. I think that's our sort of, I mean, I'm missing, geez, just, I saw a neighbor the other day, and shame the poor guy. He was like, well, this guy won't leave me alone. And we're talking obviously in distance, but hey, what you doing? You're planting something. Oh, wow, that's cool. What you planting? It's stupid. So I think the kids will probably feel a sense of that, I'm sure. Like, can't wait to get back.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm not going to lie.
Coming back to normal.
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, hats off to the edumentors. Thank you, and to the parents as well. To you guys, thank you for making everything work. But it's all the silver linings aside. The kids are doing fantastic. I mean, how are you guys doing? I mean, you guys are finding it tough. I've found it tough. I mean, there are entrepreneurs out there that are having a really, really tough time. Healthcare workers are being stretched. They are so tired. What's been the impact on each of you guys individually in terms of your position relating to COVID-19?
First of all, it's scary for me.
There was silence.
As a grown person, I don't think, the only thing I can think of actually is a spider that I think I've been more scared of than this, or like it freaks me out. The idea of exposing my kids in any way. Like, I think now, okay, fine, I need to go get bread or water or whatever for the house. And then every second when I think of leaving the house, the first thing that comes to my mind is, I could bring this thing home to my kids.
Oh,
And
I
that
feel
is
the
like,
same way, Tanky.
it brings a fear of death to me, I swear. So I feel like that for me is the scariest thing. And also, like, when you see, obviously you're not supposed to like fill your head with everything that is happening around the world, because that makes you even more paranoid. But you can't help but, like, as you switch on the TV, you're seeing, oh, this is happening in America, in Italy and whatever. And the numbers are scary. They are scary. So, I mean, it just like really freaks me out how bad this can still get, and how some people are just like so blasé about it and are not understanding the impact it could have if it actually grew even more than it's growing right now. So it really, really mentally, I think it is just, I've actually had nightmares about it. Like, literally had nightmares. I'd go to bed and I'll wake up and I've actually had a bad dream about COVID-19. So it's scary.
Yeah, I think I could talk for about 50 million years on this topic. But for me, I think so. I've had quite a weird experience in that my folks, my father and my brother in the UK have both had the disease. So I've kind of seen firsthand how it can affect different ages, different people. And I suppose I don't live with the fear so much of my children get it. I think the fear for me is the damage it's doing to the world from a sort of economic perspective. It seems like children are recovering quite well and the strength of their immune systems as long as they're good while they're at home and they're safe. But I mean, what the damage it's done to my business is irreparable. And, you know, the damage it's doing to most people I know, businesses is quite scary. So that's more the fear from my side. And I think I kind of feel like I'm living in this weird world of kind of this lightness and homeschooling, playful time with the kids. And then underneath there's that kind of this sort of running fear kind of that sort of sits at a lower level. It's kind of working at these two tunes, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel the same, Kate. It's fascinating because like on a financial level, we are definitely crashing and burning. The plane's on fire. It's going down. But at the same time, it's almost this strange comfort knowing that we're in this together. And I know that's doesn't make it any easier for our individual situations. That's one thing that's kind of, in a strange way, helped me, just knowing that there's lots of businesses around us all going through the same thing. And this is going to sound even more crazy, but strangely, we've seen opportunity come out of this because it's, you know, as entrepreneurs for 8 years having an online business, we've been through ups and downs. And it's normally when we get to desperate situations that the next idea comes, just for us personally. Your back gets pushed against the wall and you dig deep. And so as South Africans, I could tell you now, after living in the UK, and Kate, clearly you've lived there, there's no other place I would want to be right now, just because of the mindsets of South Africans and the resilience. I'm so proud to be South African. I'm proud to be and, you know, I don't know. I'm just trying to be encouraging. I'm not saying I've got it. I'm not saying, listen, I don't wake up like singing and whistling every morning. It's just that honestly, I think it's going to be okay in the end. And I honestly think we're going to come out. This is terrible now. Exactly. And it's horrible to say because people are dying. You know, the likelihood of, you know, potentially family around us dying, that's awful. We don't want to think about these things.
Yeah.
And that is awful. But, you know, life has got a way of working out. And I think looking back, man, who knows? I can't even. Yeah, we'll have to see.
I was chatting to somebody today about it. It was quite interesting. And I was saying you almost need to, because the uncertainty is what's killing us all as well, I think. Not knowing how long, not knowing how bad, not knowing when or if. And I think that uncertainty kind of is a big difficulty. So, you know, also just making that decision and saying, okay, this is what I'm doing. And you kind of take the power back out of that. You might not know, you make the decision. I know that was very hard for me. And then once we did, like within 4 days, we were already coming up with new ideas and how do we find a way to survive this? And where is the income in this? How do you survive this? Was quicker to get through once we made the decision.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, our family life is a bit stressful right now as well. My husband's a healthcare worker. So we face the stress every single time he leaves the house and every single time he walks back. And it's really very scary because you just don't know what's going to happen. Or no amount of protective gear is going to help you if you're going to get it, you know. And it can be the little things. And I've also going through this extremely paranoid place sometimes, you know, where no place is safe but staying inside your home and you just don't want to even step out, you know. And I mean, initially we weren't sleeping, we were I couldn't even concentrate on reading a book, you know, like simple things like, you know, that would usually bring you a lot of comfort. I couldn't even do that much. But what I found has helped is taking breaks from social media, which I found was creating so much anxiety and, you know, an overload of stress information, if that makes sense. And I found that taking a break from that, so I'm not taking a break from media, but social media in particular has been helpful to me. You know, I found that we were having more constructive conversations rather than the more pessimistic doom and gloom ones, you know, like you're all saying, how do we come up from this better? And that has helped me, I think, you know.
And I think it also really depends on what headspace the people you're sort of in when you're looking at that. I know that when you're in that doom and gloom space, you actually just want an empathetic person to say, yeah, it's so rubbish. I'm also in a rubbish place, you know, and then other days you need the pick me up. And I think sometimes it's hard to know. And that's why social media is dangerous because, you know, each person has a different view and it's their opinion each time.
Exactly.
So, fully.
Exactly. And also what's helped is to accept that there will be bad days. You know, you
Yeah.
will have bad days, and not to fight those, but just take them for what they are. Because I think when you try and fight them, I find that I struggle even more. But if I know that it's okay to have those bad days in between the really nice, fun, family, good vibe days, I kind of feel like it's more manageable, if that makes sense.
And accepting that the emotions are fine, you know.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, if
And
you want to burst into tears, do it, you know.
yeah, totally.
Especially you, Paul and Tim. I know you do that often.
Every morning.
Oh,
I was gonna save that for a whole different podcast, Kate. But if you would like to get into it, we can.
Emotional dads at Rallim.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so I mean, it's exactly that. So I mean, sure, I'm honestly wondering, you know, is the world going to be a different place after this? And you know, I really think it is.
I hope so.
I think my hope is that it's going to be a far more resilient, far more positive kind of place that we want to be. It's kind of put a lot of the unrest that was happening in the world to bed. You know, it's kind of put all that sort of stuff to bed, which is fantastic. And I just hope we can kind of maintain that after this, and the sense of all this amazingness that has been happening as a result of COVID-19. I hope that kind of blossoms, you know, after this whole COVID-19 pandemic is past. I mean, what do you guys think the world's going to look like when we eventually get past this, whenever that is?
Well,
think
as it is, sorry, as it is, I feel like just during this period, like I said, there's so much that you're learning about other people. And these are people that are sometimes even very close to you, like your family. So I'm just hoping that after this, like people will just be more patient with each other and be more willing to listen and hear other people out. And therefore, obviously, will be a better nation, better people. You know, I feel like we'll definitely learn how to cope with things better, like stresses of life. Because I mean, this is a big and stressful situation, and it's affecting everybody, like it was mentioned here. So I feel like we'll just be more patient people and more understanding, you know, of other people.
And I think
I just,
aware of other people, like one thing I've
yeah.
noticed is there's so much more sense of community. Like I think that was really
Mm,
lacking in society. And I think that people were just
Yeah.
so selfish in their own heads, doing their own thing, you know, grafting and and everyone's so busy and everyone's too busy to deal with anybody else or anything. So I think
exactly.
it's really made people look outward, look back to also realizing how privileged they are in this point,
Yeah.
and sort of being grateful and in that sense also giving back. You know, and doing as much as they can. So I think the sense of community and looking after others, being kind to people really seems to have changed in society, which I think was much needed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think the change of rhythm just in life, you know, the hamster wheel and being forced to jump off that wheel and take stock, you know, I think that's a good thing. Hopefully that'll stick with people, where they can smell, look at the sunsets, you know, a bit more often than they have been, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I hope for a new normal. I really, really do. It's the life we were living it wasn't right, you know. It wasn't right. Well, at least not for us. And I feel like a world where we maintain a slower, more balanced pace. That's what I want. That's how I want to continue living. The new normal.
And I think what's important is that if each of us will obviously understand that it starts with us. So instead of like looking, okay, what are people doing
Absolutely.
out there? But then what am I doing to be a better part of this world? And what am I doing to create the better version of what I want? Which is what I think has definitely happened to me. Like I'm always like looking now for better ways of improving the world, impacting on the world in a positive way. And, you know, I feel like there must be more people out there that are feeling the same way, you know,
Absolutely.
and that are picking up this new way of thinking because of this.
Yeah, and I think you sit there, or I personally sit there, I don't want to speak for you, but I sit in my house thinking, I feel so useless, you know, in this greater scheme of things. I'm not a healthcare worker, you know, I've got some time on my hands. Like this feeling of uselessness is really there. So I think, yeah, definitely trying to think how we can benefit others in this time is important.
All right, guys. You know, I really feel so much more happier for having shared this conversation with you guys. So I feel like I've learned quite a bit, and for me personally, it's so good to know that I'm not in this alone, and that I'm sharing this experience with you guys. And in terms of what you shared, the advice that you've all given, I've had a couple of takeaways. So thank you so much for that. I'm not sure if anybody wants to add anything before we kind of close this off. I think it's been a very, very good discussion. I think it's obviously very relevant. I think we're speaking on behalf of many parents and just people in general out there. So thanks so much for your time, guys. But if you've got anything more you'd like to add, go for it. Now's the time.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I want
thanks,
to
Paul.
thank you for this podcast, definitely, because I feel like a part of me got to speak and share. And that's another thing, because I feel like psychologically, at some level, we want to find a place, like semi-psychologists or whatever, that we can actually speak to about our emotions and our mental
Yes,
state of mind. So I just want to
of
thank you
course.
for having the podcast, definitely.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I
Mm.
thoroughly enjoyed it as well. And yeah,
Yeah, and
just to say, I mean, we've said it, but I think it's worth reiterating, is just to say thank you to Rallim and our teachers for doing everything they're doing for our children. It really means a lot. And
Absolutely.
just to say thank you, guys.
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, everyone. I mean, stay safe. We're not sure when all of this is going to come to an end. I'm sure we're all waiting in anticipation to hear from our president again, who I think has dealt with things absolutely brilliantly to date. I
Yeah.
think he's taken
Yeah.
every necessary step needed to kind of protect South Africa, and I think he will continue to do so. So I'm curious to kind of see where all this is going. Hopefully, the end is in sight, but I think we're still going to have to be cautious as to when we do go back to normal, because it's this whole pandemic has been lingering around for quite a long time, actually, and I think if we were to kind of just jump straight back into the norm, it almost feels as though this whole lockdown experience would be for no reason at all.
Yeah.
So I am heavily guided by what our president decides on. I'm not sure how you guys feel about that.
No, yes,
um,
definitely.
Yeah.
It's
but
been
I think he's
amazing.
done I think he's done such a wonderful
Mm.
job, and I feel so much more safer for it. So from me to you guys, thank you. I just encourage you guys to stay safe, stay in contact, stay in community with your friends and with your family, and just make sure that nobody is left alone, and stay fit. Strong body, strong mind. We've recently launched the Run for a Reason lockdown challenge. Miss Macmillan, shame, she sent me a video this morning of her garden, which is literally a 3x3 garden, and she did 2 kilometers circling.
Wow.
I was going to
That's
say, you've
amazing.
got my husband circling the house regularly now.
Yeah, and it's all in the hope of keeping fit. My daughter Morgan, she did 2 kilometers the other day, and she felt so much better afterwards. So while we're stuck at home, I implore you guys to kind of just make an effort to still stay active, and encourage your friends to do the same as well, because I think it really does make a difference as
You've
well.
given me an idea now. Must I put the watch on my 2-year-old and clock kilometers?
There's an idea.
It does discovery point.
Yeah.
Yeah, for your discovery points, Kate, I think that's a great idea. But
Or the dog.
yeah, absolutely. But from me to you, and also on behalf of Rallim, thank you. You guys individually are all amazing, and I look forward to high-fiving each of you in the corridors of Rallim sometime soon.
So do we.
Elbow shuffle, Paul. Elbow
Have a virtual
shuffle.
high fives.
Absolutely.
Cool, guys.
Cool.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
everybody.
Thanks, guys.
It
Thanks
was
so much,
lovely.
and speak soon.
Bye.